Yes, how we doing, everyone? Welcome along. Thank you for joining this pre-recorded stream. Probably the first of its kind on this channel, the first transatlantic pre-recorded stream with Red Pill Phil and a lovely chap called Vice Versa from America, and also another special guest, the man Knack from the A-Team. So, without further ado, let's get this on. Red Pill Phil on YouTube. Let's do this.
So, 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 so they're the opposite of the free press.
We did it like that, and now we do it like this. We did it like that, and now we do it like this.
They claim to fight for liberty, but they're authoritarian as they come. So they're the opposite of the free press.
We did it like that, and now we do it like this. We did it like that, and now we do it like this.
Yes, we are doing it like this. First transatlantic pre-recorded stream, buzzing, but it couldn't have happened with a more genuine individual who I've been watching a bit of his work, thanks to Tony Bugle, for quite some time now. And Tony Bugle has managed to set this connection up so we can talk live and direct to the man called Mark, aka Vice Versa. How are you doing, sir? Thank you for taking the time out to join us.
Hey, thank you for having me on. I'm doing well.
Firstly, this must be crazy for you as it is for us. Surely you've got a life to live just like everyone else, but yet all of a sudden the word activist has become a reality to your life. I'm sure you didn't foresee this when you were growing up and when you started your family as well. Firstly, I'd like you to give us a little bit of a history to your background, where you're living, and pretty much what got you started talking about what you're talking about currently.
Oh, I live in Carolina, in the United States, and it initially started. I voiced my opinion on Black Lives Matter and on the app TikTok.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Hey, I need everyone to help me, okay? We are fighting against the wrong people. We are at war, seriously. And we need to band together, all right? We don't need to talk about slavery and everything that divides us. Leave that alone.
And then I started, receiving comments and messages. And once I started seeing how individuals were treated and, how their voices were being stripped away, and it just really made me really go in harder and just like, well, this is not just about me. It's millions of people out here who are affected by this. And I started doing research on the organization, and it just really opened my eyes up to a lot of things. And then you guys see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
If we band together and stand together, everything that divides us will fall. As far as these organizations, let's leave these organizations alone. Let's not pay no attention to them, act like they don't even exist. Because when we band together, they will fall. We need to cancel CNN. Don't even watch CNN right now. Because through the treatment of political radicalism, they're implementing the divide and rule strategy over us through public goods provision, which they're causing a scapegoat, which is law enforcement, which causes civil disorder.
Now, you say you come from Carolina. Would it be a predominantly black area you live in, out, predominantly white, or a bit of mixture of the two?
Now, the area I live in right now is predominantly white.
Okay.
Like I say, of course, you go 5 miles down the road, and then it just opens up to more predominantly black or mixed area. So I like it out here.
Mm-hmm. So, in terms of the feeling, both in your area where you live as opposed to the area 5 miles down, could you explain a little bit about that, the current feeling?
Now, the current feeling here, now in Carolina, it's not so much. South Carolina, it's not so much of rioting and looting and things of that nature and protests going on. Initially, when the death of George Floyd took place, yes, but after that, everything calmed down tremendously. Now you still feel tension, or maybe it could be psychological in individuals' head that individuals looking at them funny.
And I want you guys to do your research too. We are being fooled. We're being tricked.
But it's more the inner cities, like Chicago, New York, and things of that nature. But like say more in the South, everything is so spread out. It's not. It's not like it's not going to be like that.
Right. So it must be heartbreaking for you then to see the inner cities literally going rogue now. I mean, I was just watching a clip before of fighting that commenced, and a lady got into a car and run down the people that were trying to beat up a boyfriend. Literally lawless, reckless behavior. We're seeing from here, we're seeing people being shot openly in the middle of the street. There's murders being committed. There's all kinds of just acts of violence and what could be considered terrorism as well, all over this very same point. It's so surreal, Mark. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, when I see innocent kids being killed, and individuals don't want to connect the dots and say, "Hey, this is because of this." We need to start saying it. Black Lives Matter is pretty much an organization that's not needed. We only really need one organization for the basic human rights. We don't need all these separate organizations because in order for us to join together as humans on this earth, when you start separating each other into gender, into sexual preference, into all these things, then you can never truly become one. But it's a lot of things going on out here, and until individuals see each other as humans versus borders that's been roped off by governments, then we're going to stay where we're at.
Mate, that's so futuristic, but yet so elementary. One last question before I bring Nak in here. I would like to ask you, in your opinion, which one would you have thought would have been the best or the most effective civil rights leader? Malcolm X or Martin Luther King?
Honestly, I would have said Malcolm X, because it's about protecting yourself, not about destroying. Not about going out here, looting and rioting. It's about have a movement and stand up for civil rights or just rights in general, but still protect yourself. But honestly, I think both would, if they would have joined together, man, that would have been
Yeah.
amazing. I would have chose both together.
Yeah. I mean, the message for me of Martin Luther King is one that will live on for eons. Total conscious, high resonance, high vibration. At a time of the segregation, the water cannons, just the literal, that was literal oppression. And to work through that and still send a positive message out to his people, that for me is more attractive to get people that are not your demographic to join in. It's almost like the best PR exercise you could ever do. Hearts and minds, through all the adversity, look, I can still be positive. And I thought that was so powerful. Now, at this point, Nat, I'm going to bring you here, mate. Thank you for jumping in. Anything you'd like to add while we're at this point?
No, it's like what you're actually saying. We're talking about Black Lives Matter here. Look, in the neighbourhood I grew up in a pretty dominant Jamaican area, lots of Rastafarians and so on, and etc. But the influences of America into the United Kingdom itself is quite vast. Do you know what I mean? How kind of youth, teenagers are kind of getting brainwashed. It's caused a lot of arguments, a lot of debates, heated debates, and everything like that. And it's good to have Mark on here, to give us that perspective of what's, really happening in America. How are we being kind of manipulated in the UK itself? Do you know what I mean? And what is Black Lives Matter within itself? Now, the reason why I can't support it, and I'm all up for like injustices and everything like that, experienced racism myself, do you know what I mean? Whether the darker community think that they are kind of being ill-treated through jobs and etc. I understand that. There might be obviously genuine concerns out there. We used that word this morning. There's obviously some people systematic racism within itself. Do you know what I mean? They'll pretend that they are your friend, but there's sometimes you can tell there's an underlying bit of an issue there. Do you know what I mean? But what is it all about? You know, I would love to support it, but in what I've kind of gone into, do you know what I mean? It seems like this. We've got two Black Lives Matter. One of Black Lives Matter, black supremacy. Do you know what I mean? And one which is obviously pulling a lot of recruitment for the injustices, but at the same time, the core of it is something totally, you know, I don't agree with. As Mark and yourself, we all agree on. We are human beings. We know about history. Do you know what I mean? But it's like me. I'm born here. Yeah. I don't know where you're born, Mark, but you know what? This is all we know. So we've got to push forward. Do you know what I mean? And make, you know, if there is barriers, always great believer in breaking them down and everything like that. You mentioned Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. You know what I mean? Even Malcolm X seen the light somewhere along the line, yeah. And then he kind of got bumped off, didn't he? Yeah. Martin Luther King. Who can say what Martin Luther King done never worked? Of course it worked. Do you know what I mean? Peaceful protests. Do you know what I mean? Did it work? Yes, it did. Yeah. Got the utmost respect for these people, the way they conducted themselves, the way kind of, you know, they wanted more of the injustices, and we've seen injustices. You know, people on buses. You know what I mean? Whites only sit here, blacks sit here in the shops, etc., and everything like that. It's a bit like it was a bit like apartheid in South Africa.
Mate, you bring up a good point. Sorry to jump in there, but I've got to get this thought process out. Sister Rosa, yeah. Sister Rosa was the lady who made the initial stance to say, this segregation thing on a bus, I'm not digging it anymore. I'm going to sit here. And then the stink that caused, I mean, Mark might be able to speak to that a lot as well. But what some of these black militant groups, they're asking for an equilibrium of the demographics, lack of oppression. But the way they're trying to do it by bringing back segregation.
Yeah.
There you go.
With the CHOP, with the other elements, with the, is it NAFC or NFAC that's running around wanting to take Texas and stuff. It's literally black supremacy. I mean, that is the most unfair way to win this argument anyway. I mean, what would you say to that, Mark?
And, you know, and how can you, you know, individuals stand up there, and I hear a lot of people mention, oh, Martin Luther King, you know, but he fought for everyone to join together, you know, peacefully. And how can you use that and then go out and do something else and cause, you know, segregation within, you know, I understand when you start talking about building up the black community and start using money getting poured into the black banks. Well, hold on, that's segregation. You know, black community, there shouldn't be no black community. It shouldn't be no black community.
If white people turn around and said, let's have an economy just for white people, that would be known as one of the most racist things a white person could say. So why is it now allowed to equal the demographics, but be just as racist as the very thing you're fighting? It's illogical.
Exactly. And that's what's not making sense to me. You know, you want to play catch up, but you can't play catch up through segregating yourselves and pushing other people away. And asking for reparations. Well, first we need to, you know, start educating all kids. In order for your nation, if you say, "Oh, I love America. This is my country." Well, in order for that to happen, then we all have to join together, and we all have to, you know, put money into education versus in all these other things. But not only that, your country affects my country affects yours. So in order for we have us to have a peaceful world, we have to connect and get to know each other's customs and what's going on over there. So I have to care about what's going on in London. I can't look at London and say, or England and say, hey, you know what? They don't concern me. You know, and that's what we get a habit of doing. We see things happen in other countries, but we say, oh, you know what? They don't concern me. How? You know, we're all human. At the end of the day, you know, when they go to the United Nations and they have their meetings, the citizens are, you know, pretty much being told what to do after they have their meetings, but we the one that finance war. We the one that finance these big companies and businesses and things of that nature. So we do have power. And until we figure out that, you know, and learn that we do have the power to love each other, then we're going to continue to be controlled.